Greetings to all. My name is Côme Carpentier, and I thank the India Foundation for hosting this podcast. I have with me a very interesting person, Mr. Satya Saurabh Khosla, who is an investor by background, trained at the Indian Institute of Management, but who also taught in a number of institutions of higher learning, and who has done very interesting work on the nature of the economy and the predictive power of spirituality and sheer common sense on economic cycles. His book here, entitled How to Prevent Recession, was rooted in his earlier experience, which enabled him to predict very accurately the recessions of 2008 and 2020. You told me that you informed, among others, in fact, the person that you informed was at that time the chairman of Niti Aayog, I believe, and he later confirmed the accuracy of your predictions. But you have also worked with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who has given endorsement to your philosophical framework. And of course, you said you wanted to have his scrutiny because since you came from the perspective of Sanatan Dharma and he comes from the Buddhist tradition, you wanted to make sure that both these traditions are in unison with regard to this. So my first question to you, Mr. Khosla, is how do you see the nature of education insofar as it is intended to form holistic and integrated human beings who have a capacity to develop well-being for themselves and for society?
Well, let's look at it like this, that we are facing a lot of problems which are social and economic. There is terrorism, there is crime, there is war, there is social strife. Now, if we ask a simple question that are these phenomena natural calamities? The answer is going to be no. If these are not natural calamities, then what is the cause? If we pause and think, we will say, yeah, it is human behavior which is the cause of all these problems. That leads us to the next question, then who can solve them? It becomes self-evident that it is only human beings who can solve these problems. So, how to go about it? Then that is the next question. When we look at it, we say that it is not human beings who are at fault, it is the ideas that they have which have led them to these actions. Therefore, we come to the next conclusion. What is the way to see that those ideas emerge within human beings which help bring well-being in society, make the society last, make the civilization last? When we look at the human being and see what are the influences, what are those things which influence ideas, then it is clear that it is the interaction with, say, parents, it is interaction with society, the nature of friends that you have, and these all influence the kind of ideas that you get. But a very important influencer in this whole game is education, because you stay with education for a long period of time. Also, there is the idea of self-education, with which you stay all lifelong, because you are learning day by day from experiences, whether they be with friends, with society, with parents, or in unknown and unheard of situations that you've never faced before. And when you reflect back, there is education. Therefore, education is a very important influencer of ideas. And ideas are causing all the social and economic problems. So, how do we know which ideas to choose? Again, we are in a scientific world, and science believes in what we call evidence. So, let us look at evidence, at what are those ideas or which have enabled a civilization to survive for thousands of years. Then we come to the next criteria, that the survival of the civilization should have been with progress as well as human well-being. And if we go further and we say, okay, let us try to identify a civilization like this, we come across one of the contestants as the ancient Indian civilization. Angus Madison's research and many other research shows that for thousands of years, India was a great contributor to global GDP. Some say 1/3 of global GDP emerged from India. So, there is evidence that there is progress. Now, was there well-being with progress? That becomes the next criteria for us to say that, okay, we should select our ideas from here. If we look at this civilization, we find both Nalanda and Takshila, the oldest known universities, to be coming from here. So, we are following a scientific approach. We are not trying to promote any agenda, or like in science we are unbiased. So, we say oldest universities in the world. Now, what is the output of the universities? The output is students. So, what is the behavior of students? That is important. Therefore, the behavior of students, the graduating classes, was such that it led to the survival of this civilization, and it led to people from all over the world coming to seek education there. Unlike what has happened in global history, where the power that comes with progress or economic prosperity or growth, that power is used to conquer territories. And the evidence we find here is that instead of conquering territories, the graduating students or the social structure that was created was such that it wished to conquer hearts. Therefore, you find a spread of these ideas all over. Now, that is a very different approach to the current or the subsequent approach that is say by Alexander the Great, that there is a conquest, there is a show of power. But what this is showing is a different kind of power, and that is the power of well-being, of selfless love, of sacrifice, and that is what is creating progress and well-being. Therefore, going by this logic, it seems that there is a case for further investigation of this tradition, which is known as Sanatan Dharma. Now, yes, people want to play maybe mischief with the words or whatever, that is another issue, but we will look at it totally academically, that the meaning of the word is going to be interpreted as eternal ideas of righteous conduct, because this no one will deny that righteous conduct is needed was the basis of this civilization. That is why they did not conquer, and that these ideas are eternal is also well known. Therefore, to keep everything very scientific and very neutral, so that value judgments are not made either by us or by others on it, we call this tradition as the eternal ideas of righteous conduct, and that is the basis of education that we are going to discuss, and I am open to discussing that, and not any deviations or implications of our personalities. So, we will just look at the ideas which enable progress and well-being.
This leads me to your own work with regard to the reform of the education system, and particularly the MBA program, because you have written somewhere that the 2008 crisis was partly due to the very nature and the very content of the MBA program and its influence on the human mind with regard to running the economy. Would you elaborate on how you propose to review this and change, modify the MBA program and other teachings of economics according to what you propose in your book?
Let me start by saying that I have not made any criticism of the MBA program. It is the other way around. I am trying to rescue it. It was a global perception that when there is a crisis, people wondered why has this crisis occurred, and there was a lot of negative feedback about education in large, that what is it that we have taught the students, because all the decision makers whose decisions led to this crisis, which brought the world to its financial knees, were not only educated but highly educated, and that too from the best institutions of the world. I would not like to name them. Now, this led people to ask a basic question, that we created education so that all powers, all decision making roles should be given to educated people, so that people who are not so educated can sit back and relax, that they are in safe hands. And that is what we have done. We have spent billions of dollars, hundreds and billions of dollars in creating institutions. And if at the end of it, the graduating students are doing this to society, that the man in the street is left without a home, or without a job, and on the street, and nations are bankrupt, and they have to resort to printing money to save themselves. So, what is the quality of education? And then this second question came, what is the quality of business education? Because it was the MBAs who were in the decision making role. So, this is not my criticism at all. This was a global concern which led the wealthiest countries of the world, which control 62% of the nominal GDP, that is the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, to get a report published. And that report revealed that in the last 150 years, ever since the Industrial Revolution onwards, there has been a lot of spread of education, which has led to a lot of growth of technology, and it has led to economic prosperity which we had not imagined. Yeah. However, despite this prosperity which has come, it has sadly been accompanied by social pain, both in the Industrial Revolution and the digital revolution. That is why they have their Directorate of Education and Skills is now creating a education with a different goal. They changed the goal of education from prosperity to well-being. And their Directorate of Education and Skills is now preparing a well-being curriculum by 2030. Of course, my work offers it in 2020 itself, because the basis of this work is eternal ideas of righteous conduct. And I am saying that the ideas of the MBA curriculum, I use the same ideas, because I also graduated from from Ahmedabad, and I am quite proud of it. So, my question was that if someone who has studied the same curriculum from a reasonably well known global management institute was able to predict the recession, while other MBAs are being accused of having caused it, then what is the difference in the perspective? So, evidently either the curriculum has not been understood, or it has not been relayed correctly, or it has not been applied correctly. So, whatever be the cause, the end result is that there is social pain, and we are in a very unhappy situation. Therefore, how can we revisualize the curriculum in a manner that we are able to use the concepts and absorb them in a manner that the end output, which is the human output, the interpretation, the actions that they take, should lead to progress with well-being. So, I can give you a concrete example later if you want.
Now we will go into the matter of the Indian tradition with regard to the organization of society, and you have paid very great attention to the concept of the Purusharthas, the four goals and guiding principles of life, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. But I in fact know that you pointed out that Moksha is essential to the very meaning of the entire concept, because even though according to some historians or philosophical scholars it was added later, the fact is that Moksha supports the entire system. And that reminds me of a French economist and philosopher whom we just had with us in the last few days, who came to the same conclusion from the Western perspective, that economics, to be meaningful and successful, needs to rely on spiritual eternal principles. So would you describe how the concept of the Purusharthas applies in today's highly technological and highly materialistic society?
Wonderful question. And since your previous question was about the MBA curriculum, and therefore let me relate the two questions. See, business is about strategy. Strategy is nothing but a way of achieving a goal. Now, what should be the strategy of living life? If the strategy of work is emerging from the strategy of living life, then there is no conflict between what work is and what life is. So, the goals are converging. Therefore, these ancient Indian tradition gave 4 goals of life, which are the 4 Purusharthas, which give you the strategy for living life. When strategy of work and strategy of living life are using the same principles, there is no conflict within the human being. There is no conflict between the human being's output and what the society needs, and there is no conflict between what the society gives and what the planet and the natural resources or the environment, nature, there is a unison with them, because these eternal ideas have been conceived in that way, that there is a unity. Therefore, all that I have done is I have put the MBA curriculum in the 4 goals of life. So, that is the way that it has been done. The 4 Purusharthas are integrated to give a common basis of the way you live life and the way you do work. And when both are in harmony, it is it's like you are not playing 2 different tunes, that they are interfering. So, you get music which is harmonious.
That, brings me to some of the analogies you have provided in the context of modern management and economic studies. And in particular, you have cited Professor Michael Porter, who is from Princeton. Harvard, yes, Harvard Business School. He was also, I believe, at some point. Anyway, and you found in his own proposals or recipes for optimization of economic life, you found in that some echoes of the traditional vision of India.
See, my effort always has been to unite what we are studying currently with what the ancient wisdom is. Because to say that, oh, we need a new well-being curriculum, so we throw out all the libraries, throw out all the work, throw out all the people who are teaching, that's not desirable, not practical, and I think that's a very wrong way of approaching it. A lot of people have done a lot of hard work and a lot of thought to it. It is the perspective with which we have to interpret that thought, which is what we are there for. And if we are not able to provide that, then I don't think we are in a conflict creating mode rather than in a conflict resolving mode. Now, why did we choose Professor Porter? Is because he has done work in the whole gamut. He was asked by the USA president to find out what makes America the most competitive economy. So, while studying that, he studied all the top economies of the world, and he has this magnum opus called The Competitive Advantage of Nations. So, his work stretches from competitive advantage of nations to this small strategy of the firm. Therefore, if we can say we have to unite 2 schools of thought. So, if we have to do it, this is a good and he is very well known, he is supposed to be an authority. So, let us look at his ideas, some of his ideas, and let us look at the whole eternal ideas and see where the match comes, and if that our current theory can be applied using both. So, if you see that what are the ingredients of strategy that he gives, since we are talking about strategy of living life and strategy at work, his ingredients of strategy are basically three: simple consistency, reinforcement, and optimization effort. Perfect. So, what do we say is the strategy of living life? In our eternal ideas of righteous conduct, you can call it Sanatan Dharma, or if you are allergic to those two words, we can use any other words, because words are not relevant, so long as the idea is more relevant. So, we say that humans have three outputs. What are those three outputs? The first output is thought. The second output is word. You speak it, you think, you speak, and then you act. So, what is the simple consistency that ancient Indian wisdom recommends? Is unity of thought, word, and deed. That is the first thing, that if you do not have unity of thought, word, and deed, you are misleading yourself and you are going to mislead everybody. So, when we talk of strategy of work and strategy of living life, we must have unity of thought, word, and deed. So, that is simple consistency. Then what is reinforcement? That whatever your thought is, it should be reinforced by the word and it should be reinforced by the deed. So, you get a double reinforcement. So, the like the tuning fork experiment, you get the vibration strong. That is why some people, when they think, they are able to do it, while other people talk and they are not able to do it. So, that is the power of reinforcement. The third most important thing is optimization effort. He does not use the word maximization effort. All of economics is based on maximization, the current study. Now, maximization is like, let us say you are driving a car and you need to reach from place A to place B, and you say, yes, I want to maximize my speed, I will reach the fastest. Simple program. Whether there are other people on the way, whether the road is dug up, what is passenger comfort, are there traffic lights, are there other obstacles. So, you are not trying to optimize your performance according to the reality at hand. See, the nature of creation or the nature of nature is to keep changing. Therefore, when you have a simple formula, I will maximize, which is the wrong interpretation given, according to me, to Adam Smith's work, forgetting that he had done his work earlier to that also.
About ethics too.
Yeah. So, when you just view it in a limited context with blinkers on, because that is what suits you, and people say truth is that which is convenient. So, you say, okay, it is convenient for me to just study this and ignore that. Then it leads to a particular view. Therefore, the car is going to crash if it's going to jump over traffic lights, ignore how many people it's going to run over, how many potholes it is going to go into. So, you are going to ruin the car, you are going to not create passenger comfort, and you are going to create havoc in society, which is what the current interpretation is doing. This is how Porter's ideas have been merged with the concept of ancient wisdom.
Back to Sanatan Dharma and to the Purusharthas, I have noticed with great interest that you mention moksha not as an afterlife reality, but rather as a living reality. I think you talk about moksha kshema, just like some other thinkers have talked about yoga kshema in life. How do you define moksha in life? Because it seems to be such a transcendent concept, in the sense that's practically switching off all mundane concerns, and becoming absorbed in the infinite and the eternal. How do you see that in a society which is, after all, functioning on the basis of performance, output, and competitiveness?
Perfect, wonderful question. I love it. See, moksha is what? Very, very simple. Moksha is not to be died for, it is to be lived for. And a very good example in the Sanatan Dharma tradition, if you use those words, or eternal ideas of righteous conduct, if you are allergic to Sanatan Dharma, is Raja Janak,
King of Mithila.
Yeah, Sita's father. So therefore, it is while you are alive. So and it's very simple. You see, why we get confused is because we have been trained over the last, let's say, 150 years, let's not go back further or even further, by the scientific materialism viewpoint, which is that everything we have to, whatever we are seeing is reality and nothing beyond is reality. Now, it is true that whatever we are seeing is reality, but tell me, you are speaking, you asked a question, where did that question come from? Can you tell me, can you see where that question came from? Can you show it to me physically where it came from? You will say, oh, it came from my mind. So, where is your mind? Can you show me where exactly physically where it is? So, when you are looking at concepts in a totally that no, I want evidence like this only, and this is the only way I will look at evidence, you are ignoring the fact that even that thought that you will look at evidence only in this very limited physical way, even that thought has come from where you cannot specify. Neither can you specify the intellect which is guiding the mind. Where does it exist? People say, yeah, it's in the brain. Yeah? Okay, so, and the theory is that the brain, the brain is like your liver is throwing out bile, your brain is throwing out thoughts. So, if thoughts are like bile, now that is a view, right. What we are saying is that can we look at it from yet another point of view? Now, that point of view needs evidence. Therefore, the reason this book was written is because here is an evidence that we have. And what is the evidence that we have? That the recession of 2008, which the 2008 Nobel laureate said that no school of, how did economists get it so wrong? Yeah. That is the article he wrote in New York Times, yeah. Because no school of economics could predict the recession. And yet there is evidence that this recession was not only predicted, but the very top was predicted. Now, ever since stock markets have been created, it has been a passion for some to find out where the top is. If you find out where is the top of the market, you can become the richest person of the world. And in the scientific materialism principle, that is it. If that is what they want, because that is, then you are the most powerful and then you can rule X, Y, Z, whatever. So, it has been a passion for some. Work has been created which has got the Nobel Prize, the Black-Scholes model. It got a Nobel Prize, and within 10 years, for pricing of derivatives, and within 10 years, in 2008, the crisis happened because of the application of derivatives.
Right.
So, we have work which gets the Nobel Prize, and the crisis is happening because of the application of that work. We have work in science which says, yes, the atom can be split, and we find the application is that you create a nuclear bomb. So, what we are saying is there is research and there is application. There are ideas and there is application. What is the way that the application of ideas can be such that it creates well-being and it creates progress? So, what is the application? This is where the ideas of moksha become. Now, moksha is is a word which puts off many people. So, I do not like, let us avoid using the word, let us look at the concept behind it. Let us not use Sanatan Dharma and moksha as words, let us look at the concept. So, what is this concept of? It is moha kshaya. Moha is what? Attachment. Kshaya is what? The end of attachment. So, when you are doing work, you are doing the right thing because the right thing needs to be done. Then you are doing it without attachment, right. So, that now there are three guiding principles, three guiding works, it's three-legged stool we have of which leads to this word moha kshaya. These are called prasthan treyi, you know it very well, the Brahma Sutras, the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, right. So, these are the three on which the whole concept of moksha depends. So let's apply it to the financial market. Now suppose you are looking at everybody is trying and has a desire to reach the top and capture the top. Nobody is able to do it. Why? Because there is attachment. Suppose there is a deep concern that there will be a lot of social pain created, but there is no attachment to the top. Do you think we will be able to find out where the top of the market is? That is my question.
I see.
That you remove the attachment from it, and in a detached manner, when you are saying this is what is happening, this is the action, this is the reaction, and therefore it is logical that this is what will happen. So when you do a very simple calculation in that way, which is what happened in 2008, all that was done was a simple calculation that this is the total which will that total was given, and that total will happen in December 2007, end of 2007. And when the National Bureau of Economic Research USA, which is the only body authorized to declare a recession, when they calculated backwards, they said yes, the recession started in December 2007. They may have reached the same conclusion through a different methodology. That does not matter. It does not even matter that the accuracy is there. What matters is that why are people not able to see it coming?
Because they want to see what they think is good for them, and they do not
see what is good in general.
Exactly.
So first of all, you should be able to envision what is good in general, and you are part of that system and you will benefit from that good. So the distinction, the myopic selfishness, where you are just looking at I, me, mine, that is a result of, I don't know, maybe scientific materialism, where you are saying that I am different, he is different, and consciousness, does it exist somewhere out there? We don't know. So there are three types of behavior towards consciousness, right? That I am disinterest, disbelief, or you say, okay, it may be there, dislike. I don't like this word.
Yeah, because I can't size it, I can't control it, so I don't like it.
I don't like it. So now the question which you raised a few days ago was very good, that at what point of time will consciousness come in robos? If you think of it that way, then suddenly consciousness becomes a scientific thing which has to be investigated.
Right.
So now what we are saying is we are trying to change the level of thought or the way we are approaching a problem. That needs to be from a different plane, and moksha and dharma give that plane from which we approach. All the current problems are coming from the wrong pairing of the goals. The goals are come in two natural pairs. Dharma is always to be paired with artha, and kama, that is desire, has always to be paired with moksha. Currently all problems are coming because kama and artha are being married. So desire and business, we are thinking of artha as business actually. How you manage life. And you say, so it's my right to get this.
Satisfy my desires.
It's my right. And where is the duty? We don't know. So that this is the wrong pairing. So the righteous conduct, now how does righteous conduct come? That in itself is a different, how we reach that will maybe need another question from you.
In fact, that would be my last question. How do you propose concretely to make this kind of education not only available but fully accessible and I would say assimilable by students and by people not only in India but all over the world? Because right now we are going practically in the opposite direction. There are attempts to reform the educational system, but we still see that desire, greed, wants, rights are predominant. So how do you propose to shift the curriculum and the very methodology of teaching so as to create a different kind of human being, which has been, of course, a dream of so many ideologues for many centuries, including the Marxists. How do we make the new man, or the new woman who is ruled by spiritual principles, not just isolated individuals here and there, but majority of society?
Well, all it has been achieved by our Sanatan Dharma tradition, and if you don't like those two words, by the eternal ideas of ancient Indian concepts based on the Prasthantraya, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, the Brahma Sutras. And it's been demonstrated to work for thousands of years. All it needs is a refresh. We have to press the refresh button. That's the modern terminology. And of course, we need to press the refresh button in today's context, using today's ideas, today's words, today's methods, today's situation. Because the nature of creation is change. And we must know dharma is eternal. Righteous conduct is eternal. But because the situation is changing every minute, how to apply it is the skill. Now, how does that skill come? You are asking me to condense 8 books or 7 books into 2 minutes, but I'll try to do it. See, we need to reform, according to me, ideas in 2 streams. Now, I'm going to oversimplify, so please forgive it because this time is short. Every discipline, every curriculum is important. But broadly 2 streams of ideas that lead to progress, which is where people generally say maths and sciences leads it. And then ideas that plan for progress, which it is generally believed come from economics and management. This is not to say that the other subjects are not important. How they are important automatically emerges once this is clarified. So, how do you re-envision the starting point of these? All of science comes by investigation of reality. So, what is it that reality is doing? Reality is nothing but search for the truth. Now, when we are searching for the truth in our eternal ideas of ancient wisdom, we say there are 2 kinds of search of the truth. One is with your eyes open and one is with your eyes closed.
Inward looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is happening right now? All the knowledge that is being created with the scientific materialism concept is creating prosperity which is outside the human being. But what is that prosperity doing inside the human being is not there. Inside it is leading to social pain. And you find that in USA, the research is showing that the mental health crisis is being called an epidemic by the results that are coming in. And this epidemic is the worst in the age group which is around the education years. So, if education and the epidemic of mental health evidence is there, then it evidently means that when you close your eyes and you are looking at what it is doing inside you, that system has failed and you are creating prosperity, increasing prosperity outside. So, 2 things are needed. One is we need to get the inner, the research within, and building a bridge so that we do not forget the progress outside, the prosperity. So, I use the word progress to differentiate it from prosperity, just just that ancient Indian wisdom creates progress while what current thing is prosperity, so as not to avoid the confusion. So, there is progress created, but there is a link, there is a bridge that you can travel from here to progress and you can travel back and then get refreshed and get again use those ideas to build prosperity using ideas. So, when we are saying, when we are looking at why do we close our eyes? Because all that this scientific materialism that we are talking about, right, evidence that we are seeking, how are we getting that evidence? We are getting that evidence through instruments. What are those instruments? Our 5 sense organs. So, the first way of knowing in the IB curriculum, which is being used all over the world, 156 countries, the first way of knowing is sense perception. And according to our Sanatan Dharma, education is all about transcending sense perception, because if you are in sense perception, you will face these problems. Why? Because sense perception are the instruments which are measuring when you do a scientific experiment, what is the first thing you do? Say you check the zero error. Mm-hmm. Is the instrument faulty or is it not? What if the instrument is faulty?
Indeed.
I think I have answered your question.
Thank you very much. It was quite a remarkable and thought-provoking conversation. So I thank again Sri Satya Saurabh Khosla. And I think we should remember what he told us, which essentially consists in saying that in management, the root is man, not in the sense of the male of the species, but of the integrated human being. Anything else is beside the point and can be misleading. So thank you very much once again, and I hope we will continue this conversation in other occasions.
Thank you so much.
Namaskar.